Good evening. Hello. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you. So, welcome to the next leg of our RetriEVER Grateful Tour, right? This is our fifth city in 4 weeks, and this may be our largest crowd. So give Washington a round of applause, right? My name is Greg Simmons. I'm the Vice President for Institutional Advancement. Thank you, Maceo. Maceo and I, my first job after college, Maceo is my colleague, so we go way back. And what I love about this event is seeing people in the audience who I've worked with, who I knew from their first moment on campus, who we've celebrated as alumni award winners, who have helped us connect students to jobs and internships and solve problems and think about starting companies. And so this is a room full of extraordinary people. And tonight what we're here to do is celebrate an extraordinary person who has really helped amplify the power of the UMBC community. We're here to thank Freeman Hrabowski for 30 years of leadership as president, 35 at UMBC and 45 at the state of Maryland. Give him a round of applause. So there are a couple things I have to do before we get started. First, I do want to acknowledge and recognize a number of very important people. First and foremost is one of my other two greatest heroes of all time, Jackie Hrabowski. Jackie, please wave to everybody. There are a number of faculty and staff colleagues in the room who I want to make sure I recognize, and I'll ask you to just kind of stand and wave to the camera for our folks who are joining us virtually. So, Kimberly Moffitt, our newly named Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, right? Brian Barrio, our Athletic Director. Brian, very good. Damian Doyle, our Deputy CIO and Senior Associate VP of IT. Anika Wayman, the Associate Dean for Shady Grove Affairs. Our famous Yvette Mozie-Ross, the Vice President of Enrollment Management, who you'll hear from a little bit later. I also saw Kevin Fulmer, the new Director of our Alex Brown Center for Entrepreneurship. Kevin. And a number of others. And we also have a number of folks joining us from the Alumni Board. So Lynette Hall, Jacqueline Johnson, Bobby Lubashevsky, stand up and wave to the camera, right? Marion Saunders-White and Caitlin Snyder. All right, so they are part of the extraordinary kind of community of volunteers who helped make tonight go. So listen, before we get started, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to hear from a really great colleague and friend, Cara Freeman. She's going to share some comments. We're going to hear then from Yvette and Freeman, have a conversation. We'll give you all a chance to ask Freeman a couple questions. Anything is kind of in bounds, apparently, from what we've seen in the last couple of cities. I would say one of Freeman's famous sayings is, leaders can never not lead. Well, we just learned his microphone is always on, so we're going to put that to the test tonight. So we'll see what we're hearing. So before we get started, we've got a short video that we're going to show just to give you a sense of some of the way the campus has transformed over the last 30 years. Give yourselves a round of applause. It really is about the work of alumni and faculty, staff, and the community that works together, right? So, Freeman, you'll have a chance to hear from Freeman about a lot of the things that you saw in there, whether that's our Research 1 status or the great basketball game, or just as importantly, the mock trial victory that we had last year. I think it's particularly telling that it also talks about the future in that video. So I hope everybody had a chance to see the really big news that we announced on Monday. We announced Dr. Valerie Shears Ashby as the next president of UMBC, right? We had a chance, she visited campus on Monday, an extraordinary chemist, an extraordinary academic leader, and what we got to know in a really short period of time is she is somebody who has worked with Freeman and known Freeman for more than a decade, and I think you will be delighted to see how quickly she has come to think of UMBC, as she said, as her people. So I can't wait for you to get to know her, and I'm sure you're going to have a chance to ask Freeman about that a little bit as we go. But first, let's bring up Cara. Cara Freeman is going to share some reflections on her experience with UMBC. Cara is a former member of the UMBC Alumni Board. She graduated from UMBC in '91 with a degree in information systems. She really is one of the foremost leaders in kind of higher education advocacy. She works with ACE and is a huge friend and partner. Please join me in welcoming Cara Freeman.
Well, hello. It's good to actually see everyone, and I know we have our folks online who are joining us via streaming. Just good evening and welcome to the event. I want to also share my welcome, and also I wanted to take a moment before I go into my remarks to thank the awesome UMBC staff for this event. It has been wonderful so far, and you all can look forward to a great conversation that's coming up. So as Greg mentioned, I'm Cara Freeman. I'm with the class of '91, and I work for American Council on Education as the Chief Operating Officer. And I have to stop a moment. Give her a round of applause. Yeah, and I just have to share a surreal moment I had sitting in between Dr. Yvette Mozie-Ross and Dr. Hrabowski, and it took me back to Catonsville in 1987. When both Yvette and Yvette is an alumna of UMBC as well, and when we were there on campus, and Dr. Hrabowski joined the campus of UMBC. So I came to UMBC as a freshman in 1986, and Dr. Hrabowski, if I remember correctly, joined UMBC in April of 1987, then as Vice Provost for Academic Affairs. And I can remember being so excited to have someone joining the administration, someone who looked like me joining the administration. And I got even more excited when I met him, and I saw him on campus a couple of times, and he remembered my name, and I thought, well, it's probably because my last name is his first name. and then I realized he has this uncanny ability to remember names. So I see all the heads nodding to remember names, and I thought, that is so cool. Until, and I don't think I've ever shared the story with Freeman, that was very cool, until he would stop me on campus and say, how are your studies going? And maybe, how'd you do on that exam that you mentioned? And so I started to think, well, I don't know how I feel about this new administrator right now. But let me tell you, having someone on campus who genuinely cared about my academic performance and genuinely cared about my studies was a game changer. I excelled. I had always been a good student all through high school, except maybe that first semester. But all through high school, I've been a good student. I became a great student after that. I am not ashamed or embarrassed to say that I had straight A's for my last 3.5 years at UMBC. And so that was the game changer. Again, having someone who cared, and I share that, and I'm sure those of us who've interacted with Freeman have had that experience before, where he has a way of making you want to do better and making you want to be better, making you want to help people. And I say Freeman has a way of connecting folks and helping us to share our stories so that together we're that much better. The collective, all of us together, are greater. It's kind of like the way 16 is greater than 1. I had to throw that in there. That had to be in there somewhere. But just a little more about my story. I credit UMBC, and I say this, if you know me for 5 minutes, you know I am an alumna of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. And because UMBC shaped and changed the trajectory of my life. I would not be doing what I'm doing today were it not for UMBC. And the proof in the pudding of that is I worked for IBM through UMBC's co-op program, through cooperative education program, while I was a student at UMBC. So if you can imagine the late 1980s, for me to have IBM experience once I graduated from UMBC, I was light years ahead of others in my field. And it took me years to even realize and understand what that meant. And then I graduated in 1991, Bachelor of Science, as we mentioned. And then by 1999, I was in my first Chief Information Officer role. So I was in the C-suite before I was 30 years old. And I don't share that to say, oh, look at me, look what I've done. I share that to say, look what UMBC prepared me to do. Look what UMBC prepared us to do. Yeah. So I love the term grit and greatness. I think that describes all of us. I think it describes UMBC to a T. I love looking and seeing nationally what we're doing, locally, nationally, internationally, just with the video that we just saw. It's really amazing what UMBC alumni have all been doing. And so I've remained active. I've wanted to remain active over the years. As Greg mentioned, I was a member of the UMBC Alumni Board. I always participate in the Black and Gold campaign, when the Black and Gold campaign comes along. And I even, when I perform my estate planning, UMBC is named in my will. That is how much. Yeah, I just think, we see how excited we all are. I want to do my part to ensure that other students have the same opportunity that I had from being a UMBC student, from attending UMBC. When I say I'm a UMBC alumna, folks light up and they want to talk to me even more. And so I share that. I think all of us, I'm proud of all of us for being here, sharing our time with the university. We can also share with the university financially as well. And I can tell you the return on that investment is enormous. It's tremendous to see how the university has flourished, to see how alumni are flourishing. And so I just share that story because, again, through sharing our stories is how we're connected to one another, that it will impact you in some way. And it's the reason, again, why I remain active at UMBC. So UMBC grateful, that is what I am. I'm grateful for UMBC, grateful for the leadership of Freeman Hrabowski all of these years, grateful for the UMBC faculty and staff, and I'm grateful to be an alumna of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. RetriEVER grateful? That's me, right here. And so now I am quite pleased to introduce the main attraction for tonight's event, a conversation with Dr. Freeman Hrabowski and Dr. Yvette Mozie-Ross, UMBC's Vice President of Enrollment Management. And Dr. Yvette Mozie-Ross will be engaging in a conversation with our UMBC President. So I welcome you both to the stage.
Great. You were excellent. Give another round of applause, would you? Hey, everybody.
All right. We got mics working here?
Yeah.
Well, hello there.
Yeah. Hi there.
I am beyond excitement to be in this space with you today. This is a special moment for me, and we'll talk later about why this is so special for me, but really excited to be a part of this RetriEVER Grateful Tour stop in D.C. at that. I am a native native Washingtonian.
Wow.
I talk a lot about my North Carolina roots, but I'm actually born and raised in D.C. So, yeah, go D.C., yeah. And thank you all for coming out tonight, being a part of this conversation. My name is Yvette Mozie-Ross. I am Vice Provost for Enrollment Management and Planning at UMBC. I'm also a very proud alum of UMBC. Thank you. And I also have the tremendous honor of working with this dynamic leader for my entire professional career thus far. And I don't know how many people can say that they work for the same boss all their lives, but that is such an honor for me. So thank you so very much.
Very much.
So I have some prepared questions,
Okay.
and we're going to dive into them shortly.
Okay.
But thought I'd give you an opportunity to reflect on some recent news. Greg talked about it. Some recent news, some excitement that's on campus.
Sure.
So you want to talk a little bit?
Let me just say that I could not be more honored than I was when I got the news that the new president of UMBC is the current dean of Trinity College of Arts and Sciences of Duke University. Give Valerie Ashby a round of applause.
Yes, good deal.
You may not appreciate the role that Cara Freeman plays. The American Council on Education is the institution in our country for presidents, from the president of Harvard to Stanford. And the gravitas of that position she holds is beyond most people understanding, because she works directly with Larry at Harvard, the president of Harvard, and other places. They call her. She runs the place. It's a big deal. And I tell you that because if you know American higher education, and many of you have gone off to grad schools at public and private institutions, it's not every day that a senior leader of a private institution will want to come to be the senior leader at a public. The first reason is because privates pay much more. You start there. Secondly, we know the kind of prestige that comes with endowments and age and where wealthy people go. I've got folks in here who've had parents at those places, at Duke, for example, and others who've gone there to grad school and med school. But this is a woman of color who grew up in a rural town in North Carolina. I first met her when she came with a group of scientists, and she was the only woman, only black in the group, and it turned out she was chair of the Department of Chemistry. She's a polymer chemist. And I was seeing how they were deferring to her, and amazingly, they were there to replicate the Meyerhoff program, as they have done and as Penn State has done. And she was leading. This was 10 years ago, and I said to her jokingly at the end, I said, "You're going to be a college president one day." I really did, and never knowing it would be at UMBC. So please, when she came up this week, she won the hearts of everybody. Because she said, I didn't come to get any recognition right now. She said, I just came to thank Freeman for giving me support. And that's her heart. You know, her mom's an English teacher, her dad's a science teacher and a minister. And she said her daddy taught her two things: how to tell a story and how to take up the offering. I said, so she's ready to be president. Right? And the coolest thing of all, the dean will appreciate this, the dean meeting tonight, the dean of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, by the way, who is our second woman dean of a college and first black dean of an academic college. Kimberly, stand again for me. We'll give her a big round of applause. Well, the coolest thing that the new president of UMBC said was she was flying in on red eye from having been invited to the Grammys, right? This one hadn't been to the Grammys yet, all right? So she's very cool, right? And a member of the 1966 club. That's people who were born in 1966, all right? So it's a nice story, and that's it, all right?
I had an opportunity to speak with her, to meet with her during her visit, and I can assure you, we are in good hands.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Okay.
One more round of applause for the new president of UMBC.
So Freeman, this tour is called the RetriEVER Grateful Tour, named in large part because of how grateful the UMBC alumni community is for your leadership and how you've led us to national recognition. You've given so much to the university. Can you muse a bit about what RetriEVER Grateful means to you? You know,
it's so interesting. Greg has a way of not telling me everything. He tells me enough so that I won't be upset for not knowing. But for me, RetriEVER Grateful, this tour has all along been a time, whether in San Francisco, Seattle, here, up in New York, for me to say how grateful I am to all of you. I could never have imagined having had such an inspiring journey, inspired by our students and our alumni. And Jackie and I really wanted Jackie to come up here and talk with me, and she said, don't do me like that again. And fortunately, I really messed her up before. She's an excellent speaker, but she said, don't do me like that. I like to prepare in advance, right? And she has bronchitis, so she started coughing to let me know, don't bring her up here. But would you give my best friend and wife another round of applause? And she's got Jackie Hrabowski scholars next to her who are doing so well in education and in computing. And on the other side is someone who's like a sister to me, who is the Honorable Mary Bush, who is was the #2 person at the International Monetary Fund, a graduate of Fisk in Chicago. Give Mary a round of applause. And I'll tell you why I'm saying gratefulness while I bring up Mary. Mary recruits for us. She's become such a believer in the UMBC story that in this area and around, she will tell people in a heartbeat, just as Condi Rice will out in California, have you looked at UMBC? Have you looked at UMBC? So they believe, and so when other people do it and when you do it, and I know so many of your stories in so many ways, of people who are in technology, in the arts, in education, who are lawyers, working for judges now, professors at George Washington all over, to MD, PhDs. I mean, you got all kinds in here now. I am grateful to you because every time you have achieved, you have sent the message to the world that UMBC transforms lives. And you represent the best of us. And my legacy, you are it. You are it. I will, from you to your children, for generations, what you do has an impact, and I pray that somehow, in some way, I touched the environment that produced you. Nothing could give me more pleasure than that. So thank you all. Thank you.
All right, let's talk about one of my most memorable moments as a UMBC alum. And I will say, as Cara said, 16 is better than 1. So can you share what you were thinking and feeling in that moment you realized that?
About the UVA thing, it's funny. Before I do, though, it is a really big deal that UMBC's mock trial team beat the powerhouse in the country for the mock trial national championship. They beat Yale University. Big round of applause for UMBC. So I will tell you, as I sat there, and this was, I mean, it was really, really tough competition. And they were getting the scores together, and everybody's worried, and New England always knows Yale is #1. And when they called UMBC's name, old men cry. I got tears. I really got tears. I really did. It was such a moment. Well, I got those same tears as Jackie and Greg know when we were winning this game at in fact, what I was doing, the night before, I had given a big talk at the American Council on Education, and I had gotten an award. It was a real honor, the Lifetime Achievement Award, and all the presidents were there. And then there was a special session for presidents, and they had 3 of us there on the stage. One was the president of Arizona State. They had me there, and they had the president of the University of Virginia, my dear friend Terry. And somebody from the audience got up and said, "Freeman, you know, we really love you." I said, "Okay." And they said, "And we're so proud of UMBC." "Okay. Like, what's your point?" He says, "But I just have to say, they're going to spank you." Wait a minute. And the whole audience just fell out laughing. They fell, I'll never forget it. And so with great bravado, I said this: UVA has only 3 things on us, and we respect them a great deal. They've got Mr. Jefferson, the height of Southern aristocracy. They have 200 years, right, on us. 4 things. And then, wait a minute, and then I said 3 things, and then I said, and they have $7 billion in the endowment. She whispers over 8. 8, which just deflated me more. But I was determined, I was standing strong for UMBC. And I said, let me just tell you this, regardless of what happens there, when we leave the court, people will say they did all they could. They did their best. And that's what I really felt. I really did. We would give it every ounce of grit that was possible, and we would hold our heads high. You got to know how to lose and how to win. Now, did I think we were going to win? Of course not. But I spoke with great confidence. I really did. They said, "Boy, you can raise some money because you sitting up there like you got great." I said, "I do. My students have made it this far, right?" So it was a big deal. And so even this year, when some people were winning number 15 seed, number 1, I said, wait a minute, no. We were the worst, and we beat the best. And when it happened, I was just in a daze. And Greg kept saying, "Freeman, this is a really big deal. This is a really big deal." My phone blew up. The server blew up. I'm reading about us in Paris. UMBC in Paris. À Paris. What? And the cameras are looking at my face, and I'm like this. And Greg is sitting there looking at your face, Freeman, smile, and I'm like, with tears. I was dumbfounded. It was one of the most electric moments, it really was. And when we had to go back, they said, well, what would you say? And you know what I said that was really truthful? I said, God is really good. Of all the things I could think about, it was my faith that somehow we would be with limited resources and wonderful young people, do our best, and somehow the world shined on us, and we were able to do that. And when the New York Times wrote the story, they said, if you want to know who UMBC is, if you don't know about them, ask Stanford and Harvard, because they know about their students, all right? Couldn't be better, because we are an academic place. You all know that. And when the journalist, I'm watching the reporter asking one student, asking him, what are you going to do now? It's like, Disney or something, right? He said, I got to go back to my room and study for a test. Now, that's UMBC, all right? And the other one got me. He said, literally with tears, he said, we stand on the shoulders of our chess team. We're only at UMBC. So give the basketball team a round of applause.
What a moment, what a moment. So these past 2 years have been, I would say, disruptive.
Yes.
In a good way.
Yes.
What have we learned about higher education in the last 2 years? What has higher education learned that might change its business model?
Sure. We are writing, my colleagues and I are writing another book. The book that's out now is entitled The Empowered University, focused on culture change. And we argue that universities can be much better. Half of Americans who go to colleges never graduate, half. Now, we've done well. Over the 30-year period, we've gone from where most publics are right now, you'd be surprised, other than huge, wealthy places, between 30 and 40% graduate after 6 years. And in the 1992 period, our graduation rate was only about 35%. And the mindset was that, well, they come here in science, a lot of times they don't make it, so we're really good, and therefore people are not prepared and they don't succeed. And a lot of people think that way. We're now up to above 70%. Give us a round of applause for that. And we can account for another 20% who did not leave because of academic performance, but because of a program we didn't have, because they were moving. We keep up with them also. You put it all together, we can account for about 90% of our students. So the world has changed dramatically. But during the last 2 years, universities should have learned that we can be far more flexible than we thought we could be. There are ways of using technology that can be helpful. There are ways of having hybrid situations, as we are right now. And there are ways of being more responsive to the needs of students. Because students go through a lot. People are in school, but they're dealing with life. Tonight, I've heard 3 or 4 stories about life, right? Things you don't expect to happen. And the question is, how do we make sure that all of us at the university are being as understanding as we can when people go through challenges? It's possible to have very high academic standards and to have high standards for compassion. And that's a part of innovation. And I think we've learned that. Some other campuses have, but our next book that we're finishing now is about that, about learning how to be flexible, learning how to put yourself in the shoes of a student, that a student that may be 18 or 50 or 25. I've got an inspiring story for a minute because I'm looking at him. I did something in the last year that I'd never done before. I was able to give the diploma, a PhD diploma, to one of my students who was turning 72. Jim, you in here somewhere. Would you stand for me, please? Stand up, let him. And it's a wonderful story. And if we learn anything during COVID, it is about telling stories. That's why I want your stories. It always helps me to know your stories. And the fact is that he was a plumber. It's wonderful. And then had his own company and was raising children, and amazingly went through that experience and then started going back to school, community college, then realized just how good he was, undergrad, master's, and before you know it, and this is what you'll appreciate. from a plumbing background to getting a PhD in public policy with an emphasis on wastewater management. Did you get that? Give another round of applause. I love it, I love it, I love it. And having children and others and grandchildren in the UMBC, and is now working right now and looking at grants that work in that area, and was working to help Baltimore City. And what is the point there? That we never should stop learning. We should never stop learning. What we learned over the COVID period was people could do far more than they thought was possible. Students, faculty, and staff. And that we could help each other more. Damien is here, Doran and others, who really were working to help people because we had to pivot. That was the name of a program for faculty who had not used technology before. We really had to do that. And what's interesting is people were helping each other. That's the message, that we should be more responsive to each other than we've been before. And we do well at UMBC, but what I like is we know that success is never final. And we're working now with all the scholars programs and all of that. People were always saying, well, what about the average student? How does the average student do? So we're putting more emphasis now in a lot of grants, you'd be surprised, to make sure anybody who comes in gets the kind of support that years ago we were giving to the best. You know, it's important for students to know if I come here, they'll push me to be my best. That's what I love about what Cara said, the idea of helping every student to go to the next level. Yeah.
Great, great message received. I want to talk a little bit about your personal journey.
Sure.
All right. So you often say that we are all products of our childhood experiences and that stories matter.
Yes.
You've shared the story of growing up in Birmingham, of hearing Dr. King speak when you were 12, and of going to jail.
Yeah.
What lessons did you learn from those experiences that have stayed with you?
Number one, that tomorrow can be better than today. But it's only going to happen if we are empowered to make it so. That leadership is not about one person. First sentence in the book, The Empowered University, is it's not about me, it's about us. It's about our working together. It's the collective, as she said. You know, it's really important. And that, of all the things, with all the discouraging news that we see, there's always a way to find the hope. I want you to join me in applauding both education and that wonderful new Supreme Court Justice, Justice Jackson. You know, for little girls of all races and for little black girls, but for anybody who wants to know what's possible. This is why the UMBC story, the education story, is so important. And so the lessons for me, that quite frankly, as bad as things were then, and as bad as they are for a lot of children today, that it can be better. But it's going to take us to make it better. That's the point. That has to be the point. Yes, very much so. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about this thing called work-life balance.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
How do you balance your busy work schedule and personal time at home with your family?
Sure.
And we know you're often on the plane, going to events and speaking at engagements.
Yes.
And Jackie is just as busy, and I can attest to that. Just as busy as you are. So how do you balance all of this?
By having the most fabulous wife in the world. That's all. Most fabulous wife in the world. Absolutely. Many of you have heard the story that I met her when she got the 100 on the math test, calculus test, and I was shocked when she got up, and I barely got an A, and I hollered out that day, I'm going to marry her one day. And I did. All right. So if you can't beat them, marry them. You got that? All right. But no, one knows you need somebody to give you support, you know, and to balance things. So we do a lot together: Tai Chi, acupuncture, use the Calm app. Mental health, this is for the shared governance people in the room. We had shared governance on our campus. Student, faculty, and staff leaders have declared this is a period for mental health issues because so many people are dealing with so many challenges. Students, faculty, and staff, and alumni. Life is hard. It is. And they asked me to do a video on my experience, and I did it, and I tried to open up and to say, no, I get through anxiety. It's not like you get to a certain age and you stop being anxious. Everybody gets depressed. Right? We all have moments when we have insecurity about things. It's just life. It really is. And we all go through periods of deep disappointment because of whatever, from illness to relationships, everything else. But being able to talk with people, including your best friend, you know, being able to open up and to say with dear friends, this is challenging. COVID was challenging for everybody. It really was. you know, and we're going through illnesses with people and challenges of all kinds, but being proactive in using strategies, exercising, eating right, and being careful in what you're doing, and most important, working to keep a positive attitude. So important. You know, the research shows if you just smile, it makes you feel better. Just smile, laughter. You know, when you're going down that hole, laugh at yourself. The statue on campus, Walter Sondheim, said to me when he was 97, the best lesson he ever taught me, he said, Freeman, live life seriously, but don't take it seriously. Do your best and then let it go. We obsess over so many things. Let it go and laugh, because if you don't, when you take life too seriously, it means you're taking yourself too seriously. You see? So, I mean, it's just basic lessons, but the calm app, meditation, prayer, acupuncture, exercise, oh yeah, all very important. And one of my students said, you do all that? I said, listen, when you get this old, you need everything you can get. Creams for your face.
That's real talk right there.
That's real. Let's keep it real. You hear me? You want to look your best. You want to feel your best.
Yeah.
You know, and that's about mental health. And you want people that will understand that you go through challenges. You really do. It's very important. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit about your philosophy.
Yes.
And I believe you can glean a lot about people's philosophy, about what they speak on and what they speak about, and what are those through lines that kind of come up in all their conversations, whether it's one-on-one or large groups. And so we're going to play a little game I call Freemanisms.
Okay.
These are some of your favorite mantras and quotes.
Okay.
We'd love to hear a bit about the underlying message you hope to convey and why you think, as a leader, the message is so important in these times.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
You could be Oprah. You're good. Give me
for.
that round of applause. She's into this thing. She is into this thing. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Choice, not chance, determines destiny.
Ooh, so powerful from the philosopher. The fact is that we make decisions every day, and those decisions lead us down one path or another. All of our lives, things that happen to us, happen in part because of that. But somebody said something to me, one of the young faculty at one of the sessions, because it is so true, it is true, I do believe we make choices and they do shape and help to shape who we are, but then sometimes circumstances are beyond our control. And this is the part you'll appreciate. She said, but what do you say to the child or the person who doesn't get a chance to make a choice? It's a powerful statement. And so it's on both sides. On the one side, it is the idea that we can think about what we choose to say, the language that we use, the way we interact, what we decide to do and what we don't decide to do, all that choice, and that will have some impact. But at the same time, the fact is that so many people are in circumstances where they don't even get a chance to make a choice. It's decided for them. If you don't have somebody in the house with books in the house, how would you possibly know the importance of reading? Or if your caretaker is on drugs, where are you? So I like to say both things now.
Sure.
And one of the messages there is I truly believe what I first said about choice, not chance, determines destiny. But it was a younger person who got me to think about the other side of that. So when I say one side of it, I also say the other.
Great.
Okay?
Excellent. To whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah. That's that biblical kind of stuff, you know, that you get from your grandmama and everybody else. But it is so true that when we are fortunate, we have a responsibility to pay it forward in one way or the other, in money, in our time, in our energy, in our support for people. And I really do believe that. And I think educated people, we are the privileged ones. You know, I just got the new data. We've gone, when I was marching and in jail there, and we were in Birmingham area in the early 60s, only 10% of Americans had graduated from college. There was 11% of whites and 3 to 4% of blacks, and that's the way we counted. Today, it's different. Until 10 years ago, it was only about literally a third of whites and about 20% of blacks. Hispanics were at 14%, Asians, some groups up to 50%, others not at all. Today, I can tell you, we literally have gotten to whites above 40%, Blacks have almost gotten to 30%. Hispanics have gotten to 20%. We can honestly say that we are at high 30s for the country with bachelor's degrees. So we are making progress. And if you put on AA degrees, you get up to almost 50%. Now in Maryland, in this area, add on 10 percentage points. We are a well-educated group, best educated in the country. But still, we have children who cannot read. And there is the issue. It's this gap between those of us who have graduate degrees or great jobs and those who are there without the skills, that bottom 40%. So health disparities, academic achievement, income gap, all those things. And that's the challenge that we face. And that's what we have to figure out, what else can we do? Because those people and those children will either elevate us or they'll pull everybody down. Because we are more connected. If nothing else showed it, COVID showed that. Around the world, the connection. You get my point? We cannot isolate ourselves, and that's the responsibility. So we have to pay it forward and think about those who are not as fortunate as we are. Yeah.
Gotcha. Success is never final.
Woo, it's something. I use the Browning quote, "Oh, that a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for?" If we ever start thinking that we've arrived, we start going backwards. You get mine? If you just hold it right here, you're just going to start going back, because living things never remain the same. They either get better or they go the other way. And that's why as you get older, you got to work at it. You got to really exercise and mindset and everything else. And it's true in general in life. If you ever think, well, I've gotten there, once you get a position, once you get a degree, once you get a job, the work just starts. That's the idea, that we have to, that's that word. That when we talk about UMBC, we say the house that love built, and we say the house of grit. That's what I love about UMBC, is that grit. The message of our campus is, you don't have to be super rich to be the very best. And mindset and brain power matter. And so that's the idea of pushing to be better. I am hoping and praying, and Jack and I talk about it, we want to be better every day. In the next chapter of our lives, to keep working every day to be our best selves. That's the philosophy.
Okay, very good. I won't read this entire one, but you often will ask our students to recite this with you, but just quickly watch your thoughts, for they become your words, ... Your character is who you are when no one else is watching. Why is that message so important?
Oh yeah, it's just so true that we have to think about, again, our mindset and our thoughts, because they do end up being what we say. And if we're negative, we're going to be that way. There are two kinds of people in the world. People who can depress you. They're just so negative. They come to talk about people. Oh, it's so bad. Blah, blah, blah. Before you know it, you're about to cry. You're just so depressed, right? And then other people can elevate you. Somebody tonight told me, very disappointing news, but when she said it, she inspired me. She inspired me. Because of all the circumstances in her life, she was still saying, but there is hope. I'll never forget when she said that tonight. I was so shocked, and she said, but I'm okay. You get what I'm saying? And you feel that inspiration that if she can go through that and still tell me she's okay. Wow, what does that say? Now here's the secret. Every one of us could be in any one of those categories any day. Because if we have a bad day, we might come in a little evil. We're just a little whatever, you know. And so there is the message that's important, that our thoughts and our actions, though, we need to be working to elevate ourselves and other people every day. It's so important. And no doubt about it, your character comes through when you will do whatever you would do when you don't think anybody will see you. There's the character of a person. And that's, it seems to me, telling our students that allows us to tell ourselves that. It's very important.
So this last one,
yes.
I put on here I added it for my President's Council colleagues, because this is often something you'll say in President's Council. And we pride ourselves on being a very data-informed, data-driven campus that leverages data to inform our policies, practices, and that sort of thing. But you challenge us often around data. Oftentimes you'll say, specificity, folks, we must get to the specificity of the matter. Why is that important in our work?
But first of all, I think about Yvette as a young undergrad, and then goes on, gets a master's, does some work, and then becomes PhD and an expert in analytics. So much so that she goes around the world to South Korea and all around as an expert in analytics. Give her a round of applause, would you? Very proud of her. And the key is this: we can all talk in generalizations about one group or another, first-generation college students, or our veterans, or people from different racial groups or whatever. But the first point is, you can't judge somebody by how they look. Whether I'm of color or I'm first-generation, you've got to get to know the person. It's hard to make generalizations, because some people may be first-generation college, but they had somebody who said, you're going to do this. They got the inspiration they need, you know? Or somebody may come from another country and you think you know them because they're from a certain country. You don't, you know, because there's a certain level of individuality in each of us. And what I think is important for universities to remember is that while we can make broad statements about broad groups, women, whatever, LGBTQ, you don't know the people, and we need to let people know that we care enough to get to know them as a person, beyond where they came from, what zip code they're from, what their religion is, whatever. As an individual, we need to do that. And so even when we have these trends in analysis that may say one thing about gender or race or whatever, it's still just the beginning. That's the point. We've got to dive more deeply to understand, what is it that makes this person tick? What's in the background that leads to somebody feeling one way or the other? It's very important. So specificity in the analysis of data and using quantitative and qualitative approaches. We do a lot of focus groups. We want to hear what students have to say. And I could just give you one example of things I learned. We were having one of our focus groups with veterans. We bring a lot of veterans. You know, we've got the 14,000 students at UMBC. That's presidentially speaking. It's 13-something. Presidents always round up. You all know that, 14,000. And then we've got another 10,000 plus at our training company in Howard County. And this is with contracts with the Department of Defense, NSA. And what's interesting is, so we do a lot with veterans, and a lot of our students are from military families or the intelligence community. And I'll never forget, we were having a focus group with veterans and hearing their perspectives. And this young man said, you know, I wish you could help people to know, I don't like somebody asking me, because I served and was in active combat, if I killed somebody. He said, it pierces my heart when somebody asks me that question. He said, I know they don't mean any harm, but it's just very hurtful, very hurtful. It was powerful. And another one said, I don't like it when we're talking about military or not or whatever, when in a classroom, everybody looks to me like I'm the expert on the military. I'm one person in the military, right? And it's putting me under pressure like that. It's powerful. Or when I'm working with the Center for Women, the Center for Women, the Women's Center it's called, and they're returning women. And on one side, somebody will say, you know, I ended up learning, I know so much more about life than I thought I did. That can help me in the classroom. I thought I was going to be really behind. I came back at 32. I had 60 credits to finish, and I'm able to do it because I said this to them. I said, if you've been working to raise children and with jobs, you can do anything. Just having that confidence, and they just needed to hear that confidence, right? Very important. So we can learn with specificity from the data, but also from listening. We talk about retriever courage, being willing to listen, and especially to listen to things you don't want to hear. That may not be what you want to hear, but that you need to hear to know how people are feeling. That's the idea.
All right. Well, thank you for playing that with me. That was great. So I got the time signal, you know,
right, time.
Running out of time, but I'd be remiss if I did not ask this question here. One of the first questions on everyone's mind is, what's next? Oh,
what's next? I'll be working on that honey-do list that Jackie gave me.
No, that's right.
Just kidding, because she does everything. I do so little. I'm not going to even tell that lie. Wait a minute. But no, I'll be doing more at Harvard. For years, Greg and I have taught at Harvard, new presidents and provosts and deans, and I'll be doing more of that. But I'm also going to be working a lot here with AAAS, with the National Institutes of Health, and with Howard Hughes. So I'll be working to move the needle, to get greater representation of all types, particularly in STEM, but also working to get this country to do more to help people in that bottom 40% to get the skills they need. Very important, very, very important. That would be it.
Well, I know we've got to wrap this up, but I'm going to take interviewer privilege here.
Yeah.
And share my own story.
Go ahead, please do.
And my own gratitude.
Yeah.
So this is very meaningful for me, sitting here in this space and interviewing you, because 30 plus years ago, we were sitting across from each other as you were interviewing me for my first full-time professional job in higher ed. I had applied for an admissions position, and I made it to the second round interviews, and they said, you will be meeting with the Vice Provost for Academic Affairs. And I remember that interview so vividly. I can remember the office, furnishings, the papers scattered across your desk. But what I remember most about that interview is how you made me feel. Yeah. I remember it vividly. I remember you leaning in, and I mean physically leaning in to the conversation. And it just, what I felt in that moment is that he is fully present and he wants to hear what I have to say. I remember you nodding, and you all know he does this all the time. You were nodding, and it was encouraging. And and mind you, I was 24 years old. Okay, this is 24-year-old me. You were nodding and encouraging me, and you know what I got from that was, you're doing a good job, Yvette. Keep going. He wants to hear what you have to say. And then the last thing you did is you smiled the entire time. You smiled. You were like the bright light in the room. And I just remember feeling your kindness and just feeling there's hope. You know, when you're 24, you're going through job searches, you've been knocked down quite a bit. So this was, this was a lot. And so you've really shaped who I am. You know, you've shaped the leader I've become. You've shaped you've influenced, should I say, how I serve students and how I support students. And that's been very powerful. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I am RetriEVER grateful for all that you've done for me.
Wow. You messed me up, Yvette. You messed me up. It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you, Yvette. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I get to go after that, right?
Yes. Wow.
Give him another round of applause.
Wow, you were superb. You were superb. Superb. Just superb.
If you're okay, I think we have time for a
Yeah,
couple
sure.
of questions from
Sure.
the audience. So I think we have a couple that we kind of scheduled to start with. So who's first?
That's that UMBC future student out here back there. Great. Who's going first?
There you go. Great.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excuse me. Congratulations. I'm sorry. My name is Kim Harris, class A in 1984.
Wow.
I feel like I'm the oldest one in the room. I'm sorry. Congratulations to you and Mrs. Hrabowski.
Thank you.
I wish I was a student at that time when you were there.
Sure.
I was part of Student Government Association, had a great experience at UMBC. My question today is, as you reflect back over the years as president of UMBC, what would you say was your most fulfilling accomplishment?
It's a great question. Great question. Great question. You know what? I'm going to ask you to do this. Tell me, before you sit down and everybody else, tell me where you went to high school and what you're doing now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I got my
Tell them your
names.
name, where you went to high school, and what you're doing now.
So Kim Harris, I was interdisciplinary studies in communications and writing. I went to high school in Maryland, Friendly High School. Grew up in D.C. I live in like 3 miles from here. I'm an executive sales specialist in cardiovascular for Novartis Pharmaceuticals.
Excellent. Thank you.
So
Excellent.
I sell drugs. Oh, I'm sorry. I promote pharmaceuticals for heart failure.
You're good. You're good. Give her a hand. The number one achievement would be the alumni. The alumni, you are the product of everything. I see so many of you. I see, yeah. And I know so many of your stories, individual stories. I see so many of you, I was hard on even at different points. Wait a minute. And we made it through, right? You know, this is a powerful, powerful story. The idea that so many of you have done so well. I see parents of folks here. Faye, I'm going to ask you to stand a minute and just say who you are. Would you do that for me? Just tell them who you are and why you're here. This is what I mean by achievements. I just happen to look up and see her face there. Tell them who you are and everything. Go to the microphone and tell them who you are first, and tell them why you're here. Not to embarrass somebody else over there.
I'm completely embarrassed. I had not planned it. I am Faye Cobb Payton. I'm here with my husband Gerald and our son Gerald, who graduated from UMBC in mathematics.
Give Gerald a round of applause. I'm very proud of that.
And so we are here. We came from North Carolina. And we came here from North Carolina because I met Dr. Hrabowski when I was in my 20s in graduate school. And that relationship has lasted all of this time. And we're here simply to support. We made a decision to drive up, and our son flew in from Miami.
Oh, wow.
And we're just here to say we are thankful. We've been through a lot, had a lot of conversations. Was an ACE fellow. Yeah, so, we've been through all of that. And so we're here just to say, I don't believe that you are retiring. So that's it.
But her brilliant son, who's a math major, now salesman. Instead of him, because he looks very corporate. Just let him see. I love. He looks very corporate. It's a different look. We had many conversations. I'm really proud. And what Faye didn't say is she was full professor of computer science at NC State and is now working for the Cape Horn Fund. Give her a round of applause. Notice now, there's a method to my madness. She gave us money when she was at NSF. I'm hoping to get some more money from her. That's why I wanted to. I have no shame. Shameless. And one of the things I'll keep doing, even when I leave UMBC, I told Valerie, is working on figuring out how to send more money back to UMBC, as I want all of you to do. You got to do that. Round of applause for sending money to UMBC. Thank you. Thank you. Next question, please.
That feels like a good place for us to actually just take a moment, right? So what we want to do, we want to make sure you have a chance to talk to Freeman and Jackie. There's some more food and drink. We're going to celebrate a little bit more. Before everybody leaves this room, we're going to ask everybody to stay here, stand, and Marlene is going to take a photo. We've been doing that across the country, and so she'll come out when we're ready. She's going to direct us. It'll take about 2 minutes, and then we'll go celebrate and thank everybody. I would say a couple different things. Watch for June 4th. June 4th today on campus, when we're going to do kind of a massive community celebration with Freeman, and thank he and Jackie for everything that they've done for us for the last 35 years at UMBC. We are, in the spirit of philanthropy, we have started a fund in Freeman's name, the Hrabowski Endowment for Student Excellence, right? It's a scholarship for students from all backgrounds who have need and merit qualifications and have shown service to their community. And so if people are interested in learning more, we have a gift of $3 million and we have gifts of $5 million. This is a fund to make sure that we're making this community bigger. We're bringing this family together and elevating people from across the country in the UMBC way. I think what we've been talking about kind of in this tour is this idea of stories, right? Nobody here walks in anybody else's shoes, but we share our stories and we come to understanding about each other. It helps us think about the problems we face in our communities and our neighborhoods, and it elevates us all together. UMBC is about us being better together than any one of us could be alone. So whether it's a young person who says, somebody cares about me, and I'm gonna go from being a good student to a great student, or somebody who's developing sensors that attach to your muscles in your brain and help us start to understand better where and how somebody in crisis or in tired can perform better, or somebody who remembers their very first interview with somebody and says, this is somebody I can work for, this is somebody I can learn from, and this is somebody I can elevate a community with. That's what UMBC is all about. You are all UMBC. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being part of this family, and we are so grateful for you. So Freeman, would you like to take us out with perhaps something?
Now we're going to have, go right ahead.
I had one one last question. Like the young lady to the left there, I'm a native Washingtonian, went to Wilson High School.
Oh, I'm the young lady.
Oh, yeah. She likes that. She likes that.
I'm learning. So if you all want to watch Dr. Hrabowski light up, I grew up here in D.C., but I had a tennis scholarship in my slimmer days, and I went down to Alabama State University.
Did you?
And can you tell them what the significance of that is?
My parents, we have an endowment there. My parents met at Alabama State University.
That's right.
In Montgomery in 1936.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So I came home and went to Georgetown for grad school, but I'm proud to say that unbeknownst to you, you've been my local education hero. And I work at Montgomery College. I've been there for the past 21 years in the Career Center. Yes. And I've funneled hundreds of students to UMBC.
Thank you. Give a round of applause for that. I love it.
I very much believe in it. I was invited by a dear friend and mentee, Kevin York, proud UMBC alum, who's working for Booz Allen. And I had a hand in helping them get in there. But my question, I guess, was working in the field of higher ed for so long, how do you continue, because I always think about this, I feel I'm pretty good at what I do, placing students for internships and getting them scholarships as well, but how do you continue to, or how did you, but I'm sure you will as well, challenge yourself to kind of create new goals and plateaus that you want?
Great question. You surround yourself with good thinkers who care deeply. And all of our team members who are here in the room, my colleagues, faculty and staff, and students teach me every day. Everybody knows I'm learning French every day. He rolls his eyes. Everybody say it. Wait a minute. He rolls his eyes. Je parle français avec mes étudiants. He goes, oh God, here he goes again. But you have to surround yourself with people who will challenge you and speak the truth to you and question you and elevate you and people to give you energy. We need energy to deal with the negative forces, right? I love that idea that we together build energy. I'm going to do this last quote, and you're going to feel the energy as we do it. And it's amazing to me that, again, my students and alumni and colleagues, through their stories and through their moments of just saying, good job, Doc. We in this together, Doc. It makes all the difference in the world. And that's what I'll be saying as I work with presidents. Get to know your students. Get to know your alumni. It's the relationships that change lives. Very important. Thank you, Alabama State. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay? So now, if she's going to take a photo, I'm going to ask that we all stand. And Yvette and I'll go down to the front also. Okay? All right. But you got to let me keep it on because I want to use it when I do the quote. Oh, you get, okay, all right, I'm going to get down here. Everybody stand up, Good. And now, let me just think, Yeah, you're going to get our picture, but you all going to hear me saying this, and you're going to repeat after me. You got it? Are we ready? Come on over. Come on over, everybody. Okay, here we go. Y'all ready? Come on in. Come in, yeah. Come on in. Good, I love it. Come on in, everybody. Yeah. All right. We ready? We're going to do it twice now to make sure you can do it. Here we go. Repeat after me. Thoughts, words, actions, habits, character, destiny. Again, one more time because I was about to get a video of this. Wait a minute. You getting the video? Good. Okay, here we go. Because you're going to have a test after this now. Remember that. Thoughts, words, actions, habits, character, destiny. Here we go. What your thoughts say become your words. What your words they become your what your actions they become your what your habits they become your what your character becomes your destiny. UMBC. It's nice. So send me. Oh, now you can take it. Yeah.
Thanks, Doc.
Send me the video and a picture.